Hello and welcome to Link Ahead, the City of Dublin podcast. I'm Lindsay Weisenauer, the Director of Communications and Public Information.
And I'm Bruce Edwards, Digital Brand Manager. As the saying goes, this is not a goodbye, this is a see you later. There's simply no way to just say goodbye to someone who's been recognized by his peers, by educators, organizations as being a worldwide transformative leader. We welcome outgoing City Manager Dana McDaniel to Link Ahead. Welcome, Dana.
Hi, guys.
Hi, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
That's great. We are talking about a 34-year run with the city. So impressive, and it's coming to a close, believe it or not. So if you are looking back and listing your 2, 3, 4 proudest accomplishments, what are they?
Well, I really think first and foremost it's staff. Not that that's all me, but we just have a staff that, I know it's cliche, but I say it all the time, and I mean it, they're second to none. So I'm really proud of them, and so that's probably the biggest thing. The second thing would probably be my very first year or so with the city when I worked on the Washington Township City of Dublin Merger Commission.
Oh, wow.
I did that I was still in grad school. That was my first big project.
Wow.
And supported the commission. I really think the outcome of that whole thing, and I could give you a dissertation, because actually, not a dissertation, I wrote my thesis on it in grad school, but I really think that dialogue between the two entities and it involved the region really set the conditions in a lot of different ways for what the city would become down the road. And then the third one, man, that one's really tough. I just think where our service department has gotten to, because that was kind of one of my early passions, the opportunity to work with the service department and watch it grow over the years. And I'm a big fundamental service guy, right? Mm-hmm. I love solving problems and rolling up the sleeves and getting the day-to-day stuff done. So all those things that are in our programming and services, I think, are those are I'm most proud of those, yeah.
You're a true student of city management with a master's degree in public administration, and citizens may not see it day in, day out. But talk about the importance of a professionally run local government.
And it is a profession. In fact, we just hosted this last week the International City County Managers Association here in Central Ohio in Columbus, down at the convention center. I had like 38 or 3,900 people here from all around the world. And it is that big of a profession. And a lot of people don't realize that I think it's just more than 50% of local governments in the United States are council manager plan. And so it is about the profession of local government. And, if you look at all the different, you guys hear me say this all the time, we have somewhere around 30 or so lines of business in this city. And what we do is we bring the professionals to that. So between, engineers and landscape architects and foresters and police officers and rec people and planners, and I can go on and on and on to all the different professions that we have, but it's about bringing professionalism to local government.
And it has to be nice not to be up for re-election every 4 years as a mayor or anything running the city.
Well, that's true. I mean, you get to do that day to day, right?
Yeah, so, right, exactly.
Or as we also say, any given Monday night is kind of what city managers say. Yeah, so there's that aspect.
And this hasn't been your only career. You rose from a private to general in the Ohio National Guard. You received a master's degree in strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College. How did those studies help you manage the city?
Well, actually, throughout my 35-year career with the National Guard, at the same time I was doing this career, at every level for promotion, even from a private, you go through basic and advanced individual training. I chose to go the officer route, so with the Officer Candidate School, and at every level you have to go through some course. So there was the Engineer Officer Basic course, Engineer Officer Advanced course, then there was, to make major, I had to go through the Combined Armed Services Staff School, and then I went through Command and General Staff College to make it to Lieutenant Colonel, and then to be at full Colonel or General, you have to graduate the War College. So, and then there's tons of other courses in between. But the Guard was really my leadership lab. I think that the War College is, it's about strategic studies, the interagency process, how to leverage agencies in what you do, seeking partners. That's obviously they're talking about on a global, literally a global scale. And really the Guard and the opportunities I had to do a lot of work overseas and around the world in addition to domestic operations and just responding to tornadoes and floods and things like that. All that combined, I think, gave me a good perspective of what's going on globally, how to interact globally, and kind of bring that to the city, And I took a lot of things I learned at the city back to the military as well. So they were very complementary careers, but big focus on leadership and how to lead people. I think, it really gave me, I'm not saying I'm great at it, but it gave me a lot of extra experience and exposure to things I otherwise would not have gotten. So
you were an Iraq War veteran. Similar question. How did real-time battle planning and execution change, evolve, or cement your leadership style?
Well, as an officer in the military, one of the things to progress is you have to be a good operational planner. And so I think people around here probably tell you, I probably think about that too much.
Yeah.
So being an operations guy, that's why that stuff tends to gravitate to me. It's people and trucks and equipment and getting things like that done. So I think that operational planning aspect certainly has helped me in this role and all the roles I've had in the city. The sense of urgency that comes with serving in the military, mission first, people always. Those kind of things, certainly carried through in my experience in Iraq, but also, here every day in the city.
So Dana, whether it's people in uniform, people in the C-suite, or civil service workers, how do people want to be led? What are the commonalities of leadership that cross age, gender, education, or job title?
I think fundamentally people want to feel like they are part of something bigger than themselves. I think that's I have that motto, all in all the time, which I've used since I've been city manager. Everybody's like, I'm sick of that one. But
is that retiring along with you?
It should, probably should. But, the point about that is that I do believe people want to be about something bigger than themselves. They want to know how they contribute to the big picture of what we're accomplishing. And I think key to that, obviously, is communication. And if all the different classes or seminars or conferences or just feedback that you've had from employees and soldiers over the many years is they just want to be communicated with. They want to be given opportunities to be their best and do their best. And, the best thing we can do is train people, develop good leaders to take care of our folks, give them good direction, give them good resources.
You've touched on communication, and I know that you have the all-in meetings. And those have been great because you can get up there, you see all the staff, and then to hear it, to see it in this day and age, like it's great to see a leader stand up and talk to the people and say, this is what we're doing. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And this is the outcome. We've gone through some tough times with the pandemic and stuff, but you've always been up there in front of us to lead the way.
You take things that you learned from people that you worked for, and you take those things forward and try to make it your own and try to do it, maybe one step better if you can. And so that was probably one of those things that I've learned in the past. And of course, in the military, you're constantly standing up in front of formations and getting information out and talking to teams. And I think that's probably a habit I learned very, very young that I think I've always taken through my experiences here and elsewhere. But I think you're right. I think a good leader wants to expose themselves in terms of, here's what's going on. What do you need from me? What am I not doing right? What could I do better? I want to hear it, and I don't need to hear it one-on-one. I can hear it in front of everybody. Right. So I put ourselves out there, but to communicate is the best way to do that. And thanks for bringing those meetings up. I'm particularly proud of doing those and having those meetings, communicating, recognizing people, giving people information on what's going on so they hear it firsthand and have the opportunity to ask me or the other leaders in the room, what's going on? Why are we doing that? Why do we have to do it that way or not?
You've expressed over the years of having a model democracy. Now, what does that mean to you?
Well, y'all hear me say this all the time. Back to my 30 or so lines of business, usually the thing that comes out of my mouth right after I say that is our primary business is democracy. We would not be here as employees or have this organization if it were not for our charter who establishes us as a local government. And so, we're here to serve our residents, and what the residents want is what we got to try our best to do. We can't solve every problem and make everybody absolutely happy all the time, but the idea is to deliver on democracy. And our democracy, I won't give you a speech, but I could, but I don't think you probably want to hear that one. But it is, democracies our democracy at all levels is just, is kind of challenged right now. And I probably always has been really in our history, but I take particular pride in trying to be a good democracy here and supporting our city council members, our board commission committee members who, can't thank enough for their service as well. And all that they do to guide us and help us, and just supporting them and providing a good democracy, engaging our residents.
During your tenure as both an executive for the city and as city manager, Dublin has set itself apart from other cities in Ohio and across the country. Looking back, what factors led to Dublin's rise as one of the leaders nationally in building a high-tech, highly diverse, and enriching place to live, work, and grow?
Well, I think that's ingrained in our DNA and has been since, well, and I'm going to give Tim Hansley credit, one of our early city managers who really, we were a rapidly growing city at the time, and we were pretty small. I mean, when I started here, we had 10,000 residents. We had just gotten city status. And by the way, this is our 35th year as being a city. So we became a city in 1987, and so we'd celebrate that, of course. But I came here the year after they became a city, and we were just growing so fast. And I remember Tim always saying, look, we're going to grow, we're going to continue to grow, but we don't know how to do everything. So let's find other cities that we can benchmark off of. Who are those cities? So we used to benchmark after, the Westervilles, the Worthingtons, the Upper Arlingtons, Blue Ash, Ohio, Kettering, some of those communities that have been around a lot longer than we had, but were suburbs and had already been doing the kinds of things that we needed to do. So we benchmarked off them. We still benchmark off other cities, by the way. We never stopped doing that. And really, those folks were instrumental in helping us find our way because, we didn't want to invent. We invented a lot of new wheels, trust me, but there's not a need to reinvent wheels all the time, especially in government. If somebody else is doing it well, there's no use in starting from scratch. So we did that a lot. And I think there was a point, and he would always say, look, someday we're going to be that city on the hill, and other people will look to us. That's the tougher job, is when you become that city that other people look to. So, obviously, and we're always trying to change the trajectory in the sense that we're trying to stay on the cutting edge. What does the cutting edge mean, and how do you know that? And again, it kind of goes back to the question about professionalism too. We learn that from our residents. Our residents are engaged. Think about our residents and what they do. I mean, they're out there in the corporate world. They bring ideas to us on things that we should and ought to be doing. And then we're constantly out there, in our various professions and in our associations and benchmarking against other cities about what's the next new thing, but also how do we skate ahead of that? And so I think when you bring up, Lindsay, like tech initiatives on technology and how we do economic development, we're always trying to stay out ahead because we want to be competitive, we want to be relevant. We're on a global stage. Mm-hmm. Dublin is on a global stage. It competes globally. Our residents live globally. Our residents are global. So, and I appreciate the council reaffirmed our strategic vision statement here lately to be a global city of choice that's most sustainable, connected, and resilient. And I think that's ties into all of that.
And that kind of leads into the next thing I want to ask you, Dana. If you would have said 10 years ago, I want a North Market in Dublin, along with a bunch of go-to restaurants, destinations to rival the short north, you may have been laughed out of the room. But today, that is reality. With Bridge Park, you get the Dublin Link, historic Dublin. Can you talk about those projects and what it means to you and the city as a whole?
Well, what's interesting, you got to go back to like 2009 or 10, and Terry Fogler had been our former development director, and at that time was our city manager, actually started the conversation at that time. And remember, we were in a deep recession too, as I recall.
Right. Yeah.
So we were thinking about, okay, what do we got to do differently, and what are the types of things that are going to keep, again, Dublin relevant and competitive into the future? And I really give him a lot of credit for starting the dialogue in the city about what that urban, walkable urbanism is, and should it be in the suburbs? And so after, 10 years of work after that, is how we arrived at what is now Bridge Park or Bridge Street District, which is the greater area in Bridge Park, and the possibility of more mixed use in other parts of the city, like in our legacy office parks or out by the Post Road interchange, as ways to stay relevant again and competitive. And I think that vision is what, derived or turned out to be all those things. And so as a result, I think a lot of those things always kind of wanted to be here. We were always short on restaurants. If you wanted to go out to a restaurant, I know my wife and I, we would obviously do the local ones at the time, but then it would be nothing to say, okay, well, we're going to Easton for dinner, or we're going downtown for dinner. And, now we were just saying a couple of weeks ago, we haven't been out of Dublin in a while. There's a lot of great other stuff out here in the region. We got to go out and see. So, I mean, that's the goodness that came out of that. And to bring that here where our residents can enjoy it locally, I think has been pretty phenomenal. Get a lot of great feedback. People seem to really like it. But believe me, it's a lot more complicated than I'm making it. And it was a lot more complicated. A lot of this white hair on my head is about that. But the people did say, I don't believe in that. I don't think that can happen here.
Right.
Why do we want that here? But I do think at the end of the day, I think most people will look back and go, that was a pretty good move on the city's part to get that to happen here. So anyway, I don't know if that really answers the question.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think every podcast episode we have to say Dublin does not rest on its laurels. And I think that that's a really great example of that because, Dublin has always been a very successful suburb that people looked up to and people would think nothing's broken. We're not going to fix it. But now you look back at Bridge Park and it's been such an economic development driver. And, it's more than just restaurants and a fun place to visit.
Right. And that is the challenge. Thanks for bringing that up. And that is the challenge of this city is what's next. And we always ask ourselves that question,
Yes.
What's next? Okay, we got that one done. Whew. Okay, but what's next, right? So
Oh, well, speaking
you have to. I mean, I know we kind of kid about it, but it's just the truth. If you're going to compete and help the city to thrive in the long run, you've got to keep doing it. Yeah.
Well, as you said, it's in our DNA. And so speaking of what's next, as of October 1st, we are going to have a new city manager. Mm-hmm. And you know your successor well, Megan O'Callahan. She's been with the city for a number of years, most recently as your deputy city manager. So tell our listeners why she's the best person to follow in your footsteps and lead Dublin into the future.
Well, I'm really excited and first of all, congratulations to Megan and the community and the city council on that selection. And I'm really proud of her, proud that she has been with the city now close to 10 years. And I think, the goodness in that is she's had a lot of opportunity to do different things in that 10 years with the city from a lot of different perspectives. She stretched herself reluctantly a couple times. I hope she's laughing at that because that's kind of an inside thing between her to move from her comfort zone of engineering, and she has a law degree in the background. She's very operationally oriented, like myself, and engineering oriented. But when she agreed to do sort of the finance area and development, and then I think she got bit by the bug because you can get bit by the bug and doing economic development is it's kind of fun and sexy, because that's, an exciting environment to work in. Of course, you got a lot of guardrails you got to stay in between, but she's done a phenomenal job with that. But my point here with this is she was willing to learn a lot of other areas, and now she's bringing all of that into this role. And so I think that's hard to compete with, when others are looking to come here. You've got sort of, you understand the Dublin way of doing things, but then you've also pushed yourself personally and professionally to do that. And she's just ready for it. And having someone coming in that knows Dublin, I think, will not back the city up. If anything, it's going to catapult the city forward.
Right.
And, certainly there's a lot of great candidates out there who are well qualified for the position. The downside of that, someone from the outside coming in can kind of set you back while they get in place and learn and all that. Nothing wrong with that, but sometimes that's a good thing. But I think that this is going to be excellent for the city. It's going to be great for Megan, and I'm just really excited to see what's going to happen next.
Dana, you mentioned your 2 master's degrees. You also have 2 families, one at home and one here at City Hall. You've created an atmosphere to lift up city employees who deliver our world-class amenities and services. What is your parting message to them?
Keep up the good work for the next city manager. Support the next city manager, and continue to support council in this community. Keep up the professionalism. Keep learning and growing, keep developing, never stop developing, never stop looking for the next cutting edge, innovative, creative thing to do. Don't lose your creativity and taking the initiative. And that's our secret sauce. And, I never have to look back over my shoulder and worry about what our employees are doing because they just get it done, like I said earlier. And, but if they can do those things and keep sharp at it, which I know they will do, they don't need me to tell them that. They'll do it anyway. So they're just the best.
I thought he was going to break into Don't Stop Believing there for a second.
Hey, we haven't had a song in here lately. So.
I know, not since Joe Bashara. So Bruce mentioned your two families. So let's talk about your home front family, your wife, Lisa Pat McDaniel, and you raised two daughters here in Dublin. Talk a little bit about them and why Dublin was such a great place for you to raise a family.
Well, because I had this fairy tale career here where I got to stay my whole time. In my profession, that doesn't happen. You have to move a lot, actually. But we were able to stay here and balance three careers. We talked about, my careers between this and the military. My wife had a fabulous career in the state government. She started out in the State House in the governor's office, and then went to the Regional Appalachian Commission, and she was with the Ohio Department of Development and culminated her career there as the director of the Ohio Department of Development. Then she worked for the Ohio Capital Corporation for Housing and helped set up the Columbus Housing Trust, and now she's the president and CEO of the Workforce Board for Central Ohio. And she and she has a master's in public administration too, and she teaches down at the juggling.
Does anyone sleep at your house?
Well, let me tell you, I got nothing on Lisa. I mean, not only that, she serves on a bunch of boards. She was the one who coached the soccer teams and did the Girl Scout troop. I mean, she's done it all. And 10 times more than I could ever do. She's just absolutely amazing. She's my hero.
Aww.
And then my daughters, who I'm extremely proud of, our oldest, Caitlin, is an attorney. She went to OU, and she went to American University, got her law degree, moved back to Athens, and works for Legal Aid, Souls it's called. And she is down there doing great things for people in need of legal services, and just really making a great contribution down there. She's just kind of into it for a couple of years. In fact, she just texted us an article that was written by Ohio University about her and how she's leveraging interns out of Ohio University to help serve people in Southeast Ohio. So she's doing a great job. Our youngest, Colleen, is defending her dissertation next month. She'll have a doctorate in psychology in victimization, sexual abuse, in that kind of an area. She's been learning under one of the lead researchers in this area, and she's amazing. She just got her first job in Northern Virginia working for a not-for-profit that's developing curriculum. So now she's going to take all of her theories as a doctoral student, and she's going to apply it into K through 12 curriculum development in this area, and try to make a difference in the world in that. So it's just phenomenal what she's going to do. These are two kids who sat around. We're not going to do what you and Mom do. We're not going to do public service. We're not going to do, and look at what they're doing. I mean, and Colleen, I have to say, at one time, she hadn't done it lately, but she's a stand-up comedian on the side, and so. So I think she's kind of in a dark place of study but making a great difference. But her relief was doing stand-up comedy, which she was actually pretty good at. I've heard.
Wow.
I've heard because I haven't. Get her on the podcast? I hadn't seen it myself, and I'm not probably going to ever watch it because it's.
I don't know. Some
probably
stand-up comedians. Right?
Right. She's hilarious. She's got such a great sense of humor. But yeah, they're doing amazing things. And the sacrifice our families do when we serve in public service, I just have to say thanks to them, and thanks to our employees and their families who are incredible support that they give them.
Yeah, you must be so proud. All right. Well, as we wrap up, we have a tradition here of closing out our episodes with rapid fire questions. So I'm not even going to ask if you're ready because I know you're ready. Let's go.
I'm ready.
Okay. If you could meet one military leader, dead or alive, who would it be?
That's not fair. So I'm going to do no. Well, Colin Powell, I got to hear speak at the War College. He came and spoke to us when he was Secretary of State.
Nice. I
would have loved to have a conversation with him with all that's happened in the last few years and what's going on overseas now. But I'm going to sneak in one other one. That would be George Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Love to sit and
Good answer.
have a conversation with George Washington. Yeah.
Wow. Favorite restaurant in Dublin?
That's an unfair question, but I'm going to say...
all of them are unfair.
I'm going to lean on my old Rusty Bucket. I love all of our restaurants, but that's my go-to, as is Dublin Village Tavern, about 10 other ones. But we eat out a lot in McDaniel House, in case you're wondering.
Okay, here's a good one. Favorite restaurant we still need in Dublin?
Well, we just got City Barbecue out here on the Fringe. I was going to say we didn't. Well, and then we had some of that in North Market, but We need our own skyline in Dublin.
Oh my gosh,
You are right about that.
You're
You're
speaking
absolutely right
I
about
got to
that.
drive all the way up to Sawmill Road
right.
to get Skyline, and I'd love to have Skyline chili right here in Dublin.
We've got a couple of Skyline fans here.
That's true.
Well, nobody asked me, but I'm going to throw out Cooper's Hawk and Hot Chicken Takeover. So I'm just
There you
putting
go.
that out into the world.
Wow. All right, best dessert in town.
That's got to be, actually, it's a combination. You got to take mint chocolate chip ice cream from Johnson's and put it on top of the mixed berry cobbler from the Avenue.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
Wow.
You've done this
That's the
before.
best ice cream answer I've ever heard.
I'm just saying.
That sounds out of this world. All right. You helped create the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center, the DEC. If you had to create a new business today, what would it be?
Anything autonomous.
Like
Now, get this. So we're in a meeting with about Monday night's agenda, and we see our staff out on the lawn next to City Hall, and we're not quite sure what they're doing. And they were unboxing an autonomous mower.
Nice.
That was like the Red Ryder BB gun for me. I've been waiting for 4 years to get this. And Jay Anderson, our supervisor, called me this morning. He's like, him and Robert Rance, and they're like, hey, it's Christmas here in Dublin.
We're getting one.
Did you go out back and see this autonomous mower? I'm like, no, not yet, but I saw him unboxing it. Yes. So, yeah, I'm telling you, the autonomous thing. I think I'm going to invent autonomous street sweepers when I retire here.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the Columbus Symphony?
I'm a rocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a
We've heard
drummer.
that.
I was a drummer. Not that I did a lot of that on my own or anything like that. I tried, but I love rock and roll. I mean, my kids will tell you I have the hard rock going on in the radio station when they get in the car. My Sirius XM collection is everything from bluegrass to rock and roll. So, but
Nice.
yeah.
All right. What fixture in Dublin brings a smile to your face every time you see it?
You know, I love that little, all of our art in public places projects I dearly love, but I'm kind of a basic art person, but I love the one about the pump down at High in Bridge Street. And the reason for that is it's just reflective of a piece of our history, and it reminds us of just where we were really not that terribly long
Right.
ago as a city. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many other iconic pieces around here between the Dublin Link Bridge and all that and some of the other projects. But that one just really warms my heart whenever I go by there.
All right. Golf, fishing, or pickleball?
Golf. I can't catch anything when I fish. And at least 50% of the time I actually hit the golf ball. So I'll take that
So
one.
you don't have the inside scoop of where we're putting all the fish when we stock the ponds.
No, but I'm having lunch today with Fred Hahn.
Oh, he would be the one to know.
And Fred was the guy who did all this in years past, and he knew where to stock them, and then he would go fish them.
Yeah.
So I know he knows all the secrets.
A great retired Saturday involves starting a home project, reading a book, or enjoying the outdoors.
I always thought reading a book would be great, but I've never been able to do that. So I'm going to try that in retirement. Not that I don't read books.
You've read a lot of
Right.
books, just not leisure
Yeah,
books.
that's right. So, yeah, but I love home projects, and so that's probably going to be my gig for a while.
All right. In retirement, you promised to help your wife, Lisa, with...
Well, she forbids me to say she has a honey-do list in retirement. She despises when people ask her that. So don't anyone ask her that if you see her. I'm going to make her dinner more often.
Oh,
It's the thing I'm going to do.
That's nice. That's
Have
really
dinner
nice.
ready because she's going to continue to work for a while, she says. So yeah. So I hope she's not listening to this, though, because now I'm going to have to make dinner more often.
Well, I hope she is
Yeah, I
listening.
hope she is.
Well, Dana, as we said, this isn't goodbye. It's see you later. So thank you so much for your 34 years of service to the city of Dublin, and thank you for being here with us
Thank
today.
you, guys. It's been an honor. It's been just an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for taking time to connect with your city. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the many personalities and experiences that make Dublin a thriving place to live, work, and grow.